Hey, it's Tonya B, host of This Is the G podcast. To keep our podcast real and unfiltered, we accept limited sponsorship dollars. Instead, we depend on you, our listeners. Now you can support us and look good buying our swag. Our merchandise store is open for fall 2022. You'll find coffee mugs, shirts, hoodies, and there's more to come. Look for the link in our podcast notes of each show or go to our page at castropolis.net/This Is the G podcast. That's castropolis.net/This Is the G podcast. Be a G. Support the podcast, y'all. News, politics, pop culture, and that piping hot tea from the one and only Tonya B. This is the G podcast.
The next time you drive through Central Georgia, we've got a radio station we think you'll love. We're Magic 100, playing all of the songs you grew up with. You'll find us at 100.1 FM. That's 100.1. On I-75, you can tune us in from the north at Locust Grove and from the south when you get to Perry. 100.1 FM. Classic soul hits. Magic 100.
This is the G Podcast with your host, Tonya B.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It is episode 152. This is the G Podcast. Yes. I can see my co-hosts, Tonya B and Vi, are here. Just got to say to y'all, as always, on Sunday as we tape, which NFL franchise deserves the most PTSD? Vi?
Falcons.
I'm not even going to go into it because we have a guest, but I think he can relate to it.
If you got a weak heart, do not watch the Falcons.
I'm here to tell you. And our guest is on the line, too. I'm not going to get into it because he's got a very serious, but he's an Atlantan. He's an ATLian.
Go for it, man. I'm a sports fan. Go for
it. So Pastor Lockwood knows. I'm sure you had a chance to see the Falcons in Carolina. So who do you think the franchise needs to give out PTSD therapy to the fan base? Pastor.
Yes, sir, without a doubt. And what's so crazy about this game? It need to be shipped up to North Carolina too, because that brother just simply lost his head. And if he had kept his helmet on, we'd be talking about a whole nother story. You know?
Look at it. We got past the ESPN. Yes.
He lost his head, man. I mean, good night, man.
Preach, Pastor. No, really.
My goodness.
I just want to say thanks. Really, let me introduce. I mean, again, this is the G Podcast, episode 152, and he's an Atlanta native, Brown High School grad, Troy State University grad. Vi and I knew this brother back in the day. 30-plus year educator. Been in leadership as an assistant principal, dean of Youth Academy. Reverend Lockwood has been active member of Leadership Atlanta, Leadership DeKalb. He's founder and president of his own ministry, the Derrick B. Lockwood Ministry, and he's preached of course in the U.S., but African continent, Canada. And in 2017, he became senior pastor of Powerful Truth Sanctuary Global International Church in Macon. Y'all know how to name some churches. That's all I got to say. Y'all know how to name. And I'm proud to call him a friend. And he's doing a really special event on November 7th. And it really, really resonated with me because I'm actually on a text chain, which I'm really glad you included me on the text chain, especially me. Because I know you've had to step in a couple of times on some of my replies, but I've been good, right? Have I been good?
Pretty much. Yeah, you've been good, you know.
Okay.
But you keep us on our toes, and that's good, man. That's good. That's good.
But I do behave. So y'all give it up again for the one and only Reverend D.B. Lockwood. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Derrick B. Lockwood. But tell us, let us know what equipping for hopeful, honest, and courageous conversations on race is all about.
Thank you again, Tonya B, for having me. I think it's very, very important that we have these kind of conversations. one of my favorite quotes is from James Baldwin. It talks about not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. And so the idea is that, we oftentimes run away from the very conversations that we need to have. And, we were taught, even in school back, you want to stay away from something, stay away from sex, race, and politics. Well, those are very three things we try to get into because we want to get in, as John Lewis gave us, we want to get in good trouble. And good trouble for me is equipping people, or at least allowing them to have the platform to have courageous conversations. It starts with your inside. So you got to have a want to. Hopefully we can show you a how to, but if you have a want to, I believe we can equip you with some stuff to help you with that idea of having courageous conversations, especially around the subject matter of race.
Well, let me ask you this. How can we have courageous conversations when a lot of the people who represent us are telling us to stay away from race? I mean, and I don't have to go down the list of names who basically are saying we should stay away from race and everything's okay and America's a great place. There's no race problem. How do we do that?
I think, again, it starts with you and what you are willing to settle for. As we grew up, when something don't smell right, when someone don't look right, it doesn't feel right. When young men in this country are still being killed indiscriminately in the street by police force, when our health care is all jacked up, especially as COVID taught us again with the health disparities that are going on in this country. No matter what someone's saying out of their mouth, it is important for us to watch what they do. And I think right now, between not only Black leadership, but white leadership and all the things in between, we have a crisis at hand. We have a crisis with young people and teenagers. You can't tell me when you talk about Decatur and that they say is greater, but you can't go on certain streets in Decatur without looking at crime. We got some issues within our own community and then America at large. And I'm not even going to bring up January the 6th, this insurrection that happened. And so if everything's hunky-dory in America, why did January the 6th happen? If everything happens hunky-dory in America, why can't Blacks still get the opportunities that our white counterparts get when it comes down just in the subject matter of housing? So I have to block out the noise and basically focus on what I can focus on and try to make changes one life at a time.
So another thing we talked about, we had a really good conversation, and you've been an educator, like I mentioned in your bio, and I got to make sure I post your bio because I don't think my introduction did you justice at all. But you here, and we talked about the Kanye West situation, what's happening with Kyrie, Candace Owens, a lot of these celebrities who, for lack of a better term, are dropping hate, have large young following. They have a large young following. So you have you've been an educator. Are you concerned about how these influencers are dropping hate into the air, into the internet? Are you concerned about that?
Oh, without a doubt. I'm extremely concerned. One of the reasons that we're trying to have these kinds of conversations that are happening on November the 7th, this gathering of courageous conversations, is because influencers and people of that nature are if you will, swaying minds, these very minds that I worked 30-some years to try to help steer in a productive way. They are really in trouble because if you don't know enough information, you'll take anything and begin to take it as truth. Unfortunately, being a historian, Hitler was an influencer. And look where that got us. There are so many negative influences in the earth that we can look back in history and say, left unchecked, left without anybody saying, wait up, hold a minute. Let's make sure we get this straight. Are you saying, amen, this former president that we have that's thinking about running again, won't even call his name, amen, the idea that he's an influencer and the kind of things that he said, even while he was president, becoming a presidential candidate, these kind of folks are dangerous. They're dangerous for the everyday person. And more importantly, they're dangerous for our future. oftentimes as we are in an age where we think about what are we leaving as a legacy? What are we leaving as a generational pass down? And everybody will say, we got to leave money. We got to leave houses. I want people to be able to think for themselves. I think that would be a generational legacy for a lot of people, because we live our lives as sound bites right now. We live our lives in tweets. We live our lives in Instagram messages and how many people are in our likes on our Facebook posts. And yet we've lost the ability to have great conversation. I'll add this. You are doing, and your team is doing, a great service by having, if you will, conversation. Amen. Getting information out there. Well, I love your tagline. I love the idea that you say you're presenting the information. Yes, in pop culture, you're presenting the facts and you're letting people decide on their own. Well, these influencers not doing that. They're trying to sway people along the hate line. They're trying to divest people of their own ability to think. And I'll leave it right there for just a minute. Well,
and that's a good point. And thank you so much for acknowledging the work that a lot of our podcasts try to do. We put the information out there and give people the opportunity to come to their own conclusion. So appreciate that. Thank you. Organizations, I look at this week, the ADL, and I was having a conversation with someone because I had said that basically the ADL just did textbook. It was perfect. I mean, in terms of how they went after Adidas, how they went after a lot of these other organizations for not responding well enough to some of the statements put out there by Ye. So I'm going to ask, and it's kind of a tough question, but I do want to get your feedback on this, man. Are Black organizations, and I want to specifically say Black, I don't want to say people of color, but Black organizations.
Yes, sir.
Are Black organizations putting the same type of intensity as the ADL into some of the issues that are occurring, specifically targeting the Black community?
The simple answer is no. The complex answer is it's got a lot of layers on it. But the simple answer to your question, in my humble opinion, is no. If we were collectively to put all of our resources to one particular effort, whether that means denouncing the hate message, whether it means taking our dollars economically and moving them somewhere, we wouldn't have some of the things that are going on within our own community. We were talking the other day about Wellstar leaving the Atlanta community, quite frankly, the downtown community where it's very much needed. Everybody talks about Grady Hospital, but Grady Hospital has been a mainstay in Atlanta, helping people probably have had plenty of opportunities to move from where their present location is, but instead of leaving, they're still there. So to answer your question in a nutshell, no. I think it's also, if you add to that part of the question and answer, it's the idea that people have their hands all in the pot. I mean, from the NAACP to you name any large Black organization. And now, what did President Kennedy ask us? Not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? Well, some of these organizations need to ask that question in a reverse order, because there are people asking them for help. They're asking for, and I'm not saying that they don't do great work. But when it comes down to the politics, when they put their clout together, move together. Back in the day when I was growing up, we had one or two identified leaders. They didn't necessarily approach things the same way, but we had identified leaders. You can't say that Malcolm X wasn't a leader. You can't say King wasn't a leader. They were leaders, and there were other economic leaders. The problem is we don't have identifiable leaders, and that sword cuts both ways for me. It cuts ways in which we open the social media and all the things that we're doing, and people have platforms. But we also don't have an identifiable mark that says, we're going to speak for you on this issue. Trust us. I think there's a trust issue going on with a lot of people who've used and abused the system. And so a lot of people don't trust. I know a lot of people who don't trust the Democratic Party, and that's just keeping it real. We're talking about Black folks who don't trust the Democratic Party because we get a lot of promises. But at the ballot box, we want our vote, but we don't have the follow through that we need. So I think it's a complicated, layered situation. But it also, to answer your question directly, no, we're not doing all we can. When the Jewish community can come together and ADL can do what it does, And when they flex their muscles, everybody listens.
Well, let me tell you, the ADL went after this like Nazi hunters. I am a huge fan.
Yes, sir.
Y'all know I'm a movie fan. So I go back to like The Boys in Brazil, Marathon, man.
You're talking my language.
You know what I'm talking about? And it looks when there is an issue or when you get on that list, it's over. I mean, and I don't know if I see and I'm glad you answered that question because I don't see the same type of intensity, but I do agree with you. It's on different, there are layers to it. There are reasons why. And it's not all on the organizations. In a lot of cases, we have to do our part individually as well. So I'm going to leave it at that. One thing, and I'm going to get to your event. I want to ask you something, and I want you to honestly answer this, okay? Do you think conversations, the ones that you're having, for your event, not just your conversations, but conversations like this. Do you think the conversations are intellectually accessible? And what I mean by that, you've got so many different layers of the Black community. And like, for example, you know, when you bring the PhDs, the doctors and the JDs all together in a room and have conversation, what about the blue collar people who have issues? You know what I'm saying? The levels of intellect are vast in our community. Do you think it's as, inclusive?
I would say so. Okay. Yes, sir. I definitely would say so. It's a free event. You know, that lowers the playing field right there. You know, no one pays.
Let me hang on. What'd you say? Say it one more time.
It's a free event. We are footing the bill. You know, we're paying for the food. We're paying for the space, the gathering spot. You know, we're doing everything we can to make sure that whoever wants to come, you know, black, brown, pink, polka dot, you know, you can be striped. I mean, got money, don't have money, you know, got 2 words, got 2 nickels to rub together. You know, we want to make sure that people who, you know, there's the 2 ladies who recently passed, but they wrote the book Having Our Say. They were centenarians. They were older ladies. Both of them, I think, were dentists, 2 sisters. And they wrote this book called Having Our Say. And I just want people to have their say, you know, and I think it's important that the blue collar and the white collar get together. I will tell you that we had an event in March at the same place, the gathering spot, and we asked this question. I shared it with you earlier. Was Jesus the pioneer of diversity, equity, and inclusion? Now, that raises all kinds of questions for some people. You know, just the idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, some people came to that thinking that we were going to have a Christian service. Well, we did have a little bit of that, but we wanted to answer the question and make people understand that was an important conversation. Jesus is probably for me, as a Christian and as a pastor, one of the greatest champions of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so if we're going to be a model for that, then we want to include as many people as we possibly can. I will tell you that we also had Asian folks and Indian folks in our audience, and they were not Christians. And so they were seeking information, and we didn't know necessarily all of their backgrounds and what have you, but they identified themselves with their heritage and the foundation understanding what brought them to that place to learn more and to have those kind of conversations. Because these are kind of conversations we need to have, and we need to have them in a civil way so that we can move the pendulum just a little bit more.
Good stuff. Let me throw it to my co-host if they have any questions. Tonya B, you're nodding. You got a question?
Oh, I'm actually in agreement, but I find it interesting that this event takes place at the gathering spot. And because I've done some research on that particular venue, first of all, I applaud you, Pastor or Reverend, I'm sorry, I don't want to get it right. For going into that spot, because I'm going to be very honest with you. When I read about the gathering spot and how it came to be and what you have to do to get in, they're not completely inclusive. I'm just going to be real about that. So based on that, I think they, for lack of a better term, owe you the time and space to do what you're doing, and they shouldn't be charging you a doggone dime.
Well,
that's just my 2 cents and nothing more.
I hear you. And it's sort of a catch-22. We were looking for a spot which people could actually catch in respect that they could gather and not feel, if you will, threatened. We didn't want to go to a hotel. We didn't want to go somewhere that necessarily. And so we ended up at the gathering spot to try to find a place, and they were welcoming to us. And I will say it's nominal based on what their normal standard fees are. But having said that, we wanted a place at that particular point just to be able to gather and to be able to have a conversation. We had about 200 people in the room. It was a great event from our standpoint of view. And we wanted to take that to the next level of having table conversations now, not just someone talking to them, but and having a little panel discussion, but having some real conversations at tables. And then we walk away from that growing a little bit more. I will say that the novel idea of the gathering spot for me is important because during COVID, and when there was a time when they didn't really have places where people could gather, this idea was born out of that, and so we're thankful for the space, thankful for the guys who trying to make it happen for us. We're not saying we're going to stay there all the time, but it is our next venue, and we're moving on. And if somebody knows another spot, we'll take a look at that too.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, let me just say again, just congratulations to you. And your group, and it is equipping for hopeful, honest, and courageous conversations. It's happening November 7th, 2022. You already have gotten your early voting out of the way. You ain't got to vote until the next day, so no excuses.
I'm done.
So 5:30 to 8:30. It is at the gathering spot, and I'm going to have the information on our podcast page, the link, because you have an Eventbrite link as well. I want to make sure I have that. But
yes, sir.
You got any comments for our audience that you leave us with?
Yeah, thank you, Tonya B. I'm just thankful for the opportunity to come on the podcast and just share with people that it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a conversation in a formal setting. I just think that so many of us we were talking about this the other day, we grew up with a great heritage here in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. We grew up with the idea that, we saw the Maynard Jacksons and the Andrew Youngs, and we have a King legacy. We have all these folks that we can sort of pull, both women and men and different folks who led the way. And so when we go to strange places, we have some foundational underpinnings to say, hey, we belong at the table. There's so many of us who, quite frankly, we have friends and people who didn't grow up with that kind of experience. Mm-hmm. And so they still are gathering their own strength. Some of them are still in their 40s and 50s, gathering their own voice, their own confidence level, because they've been told on their job they can't do this, and they can't do this in their neighborhood, and they can't do this. And we just want to make sure that no matter what God assigns you to do, that you're able to do it and do it to the fervor that God has placed you in. Have the courage, amen, to speak up. And to, if you will, borrow the late, great John Lewis, get in good trouble. I mean, I spend most of my life in trouble. And I think that's a good thing for me to be in, because I know most of the time, and sometimes I'm in trouble with my wife, and that's probably not a good thing. But at the same time, my heart is in the right place, just trying my best to make sure I stay on the grind. And I just want to encourage others in the listening audience. If you have an opportunity to have that one-on-one conversation with someone to help turn them around, I go back to King. He's one of my heroes. If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with the word of song, if I can show someone that they're traveling wrong, then my living prayerfully won't be in vain. And that's why I want to leave you. Have those conversations, whether they're large, small, in groups, one-on-one, at the bus station, at dinner, wherever it may be. And quite frankly, we have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, so true.
So that's it.
Let me just give it up for Reverend Derrick Lockwood, D.B. Lockwood. And you know what? I got to shout out the crew, because when we were at Troy State, it was like the Atlanta crew. So you had, of course, Vi was I'm gonna say the Atlanta and the Georgia crew. So Vi, Daryl Hayes area. You had Pharrell, Mike Smith. And of course, our buddy Norm. So we were like part of that crew, man. So you were part of the ATL crew, the ATLians. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And keep praying for the Falcons, man, because they are much in need of prayer in that franchise.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. I know a lot of people taking some medicine after that game today, man. So, it's all good.
The wrong medicine.
Yeah, sir. Yeah. Some people say they don't drink on Sunday, but they might be turning it up right now.
Pastor Lockwood, before you get in trouble, let me move on and just say thank you again, sir.
Appreciate you, man. God bless. Thank y'all. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Take care now. Okay.
Yes, sir. Peace and blessings.
All right. Take care. Oh, yeah. Man, good to hear his voice. Tonya B, Vi, before we hit the news, just a couple of thoughts and then we'll go into news. I'll go to you, Vi. Any thoughts?
I don't know much about the guy. I need to start looking up the information about it. I was trying to.
Yeah, I'll make sure. Yeah, I'll make sure. I mean, it is. It's a central spot, and what I like about it, if anything, is very much a millennial spot. So he, within the right hands, I think he's going to get a good mixed demographic. And honestly, those are the kind of folks you need to be talking to right now, because those are the folks, the older generation right now, our generation, we know better. But a lot of these younger, the millennial, Gen Z, a lot of what they're hearing, they can't filter because the folks at home aren't helping them filter. So I think if he can get some of that, then so be it. Yep. Hey, let's go ahead and do this, and we'll come back and talk on the other end. We got some more of the stuff to get into. Let's go ahead, do news with Syracuse Mike, and we'll be right back. Here we go.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Week in News with Syracuse Mike.
There was another high school shooting Monday, this one in St. Louis. The FBI is investigating. Local authorities say at least 2 people were killed, a woman and a teenage girl. St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones.
Our children shouldn't have to experience this. They shouldn't have to go through active shooter drills in case something happens. And unfortunately, that happened.
Several other people were injured. The shooter, who is around 20 years old, according to 2 reports, is also dead after exchanging gunfire with police. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has temporarily blocked the testimony of Senator Lindsey Graham before a special grand jury in Fulton County. They're investigating whether former President Trump and his allies illegally tried to influence the 2020 election in Georgia. A lower court had ruled Graham would have to testify. Georgia's incredible voting numbers continue to grow. As of Tuesday, we hit a milestone. Over 1 million people have voted so far in the state. Now, it's generally been a smooth election. However, at a press conference, the Secretary of State's deputy, Gabe Sterling, discussed a problem in Baker County. A postal service truck caught fire there.
There are 43 outstanding ballots in the county. We're working with USPS to see if they have images of what might have been on that truck to reissue them.
Plus, there's just one report of a fraudulent ballot in Spalding County.
So the system worked. They caught it. They identified the ballot. They removed the ballot from the count.
As a reminder, early voting continues through next week. WNBA star Brittany Griner's appeal was rejected by a Russian court. She was sentenced to 9 years in prison for possession and smuggling of drugs, which was actually vape cartridges containing cannabis oil. Elizabeth Root is with the U.S. Embassy in Moscow.
Today was another sad day for the rule of law in the Russian Federation.
The White House calls the appeals court ruling another sham judicial proceeding. You've probably heard something about anti-Semitic comments by Kanye West, or Ye as he is known now. In a statement Tuesday, sneaker maker Adidas said it has ended its partnership with Ye, saying his comments are unacceptable, hateful, and dangerous, and they violate the company's values of diversity and inclusion. Others have also cut ties with the artist. The controversy seemed to gain steam earlier this month after Ye made an anti-Semitic post in which he said he would go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. A second woman has come forward and claims Georgia U.S. Senate candidate Herschel Walker also pushed for her to have an abortion when she became pregnant during a relationship with him.
Herschel Walker says he is against women having abortions, but he pressured me to have one.
The anonymous woman, who is represented by attorney Gloria Allred and spoke via Zoom, said Walker drove her to the clinic in Dallas to have the abortion. No actual evidence of the 1993 abortion was presented, and Walker said this accusation is also a lie. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer was caught on a hot mic Thursday, telling President Biden that the state where we're going downhill is Georgia. He also told the president it's hard to believe they will go for Herschel Walker. Schumer's comments come as 2 new polls show Walker with a slight lead over Raphael Warnock. Biden was in Syracuse, New York, giving a speech about plans for a new $100 billion semiconductor plant. It appears that Elon Musk is now running Twitter. According to several media outlets, Musk has already fired 4 top executives, including the CEO. Musk also updated his Twitter handle to Chief Twit. Not exactly a flattering way to refer to yourself. Paul Pelosi, the husband of Nancy Pelosi, is expected to make a full recovery after being attacked in the couple's San Francisco home. San Francisco Police Chief Bill Scott said the suspect, armed with a hammer, will face charges of attempted homicide and assault with a deadly weapon, among other charges.
You know, and really and truly, we wish the best for the Pelosi family. Just unfortunate, man. And you've heard all the details. We don't have to go into any more of the details of how it happened. Bottom line is we just hope he gets better. And you know, I don't know if I was having a conversation with you guys, with you, Vi and Tonya B, but the temperature is just too high. We have to turn it down. But these guys in Washington, unfortunately, and I don't know if you say unfortunately, they have contributed to the temperature being as high as it is. And I hope they understand that they have contributed as well, both sides, you know, everybody involved in this. So, you know, again,
my thing is they're not taking ownership of it.
Yeah, that's my point.
They're not taking ownership of it.
Yeah.
They're not, especially Republicans. Why aren't the Republicans speaking out against it, saying it was a bad thing? I haven't heard them say anything.
Yeah, I agree. And it's really time, both sides. And I am saying, I mean, I hate to say, I'm not going to get into the both sides thing because we don't know much about the assailant, the guy who actually was swinging the hammer yet, but I'm sure we'll find out more this week. And I'll just leave it at that. Also, just condolences to the Dooley family. You know, as a Georgia native, Vince Dooley meant a lot to the state. Not only just to UGA, but, you know, of course, the winningest coach in the state of Georgia. You know, am I right in saying that, Bob? He was definitely for UGA.
Winningest coach for the University of Georgia.
Yeah, University of Georgia. But the other thing, and the thing I liked about Vince Dooley, just my quick Vince Dooley memory, because I was doing high school sports at the time when he won the national championship in '82. He would always, if you'll relate to this, you might also, Tonya B, whenever he had a big game, he would always talk about the competitor like, oh, you know, these guys are just incredible. We don't have a shot. You know, he would always, he'd be playing Vanderbilt. Maybe he'd go in there like, oh, you know,
yeah, they got a great running back on that team. You know?
I mean, that's the thing. He would always kind of lull the competition into this little trap, and then they beat him like 50-0. So you know, Vince, that's what I remember most about Vince, but rest in power. Another unfortunate thing, and as we tape, this thing in Seoul, Korea, where 153 people killed in a nightclub, a stampede in Seoul, Korea. That just went down as we taped the night before. Yeah. And you know, to all our, you know, Korean family, the folks, because we do have, you know, some folks in Korea who listen. Definitely in those within the U.S. and outside of the U.S. and just our thoughts and prayers to all those folks. 153.
But you know what?
Go ahead, Tonya.
Yeah, there were some Americans that were over there that were injured, and I just saw something before we flipped the mic to come onto the podcast that there was a student from Kennesaw State College that was one that was a loss of life there. And they, you know, people were out. It was Halloween. They had no mask. It was the first one since COVID. I don't know whether the police force was intentionally ill-equipped or, you know, what they thought was going to happen when you have that many people out for the first time in more than 2 years. Yeah. Something is going to go down. And, you know, you wonder, what preventative measures were not in place that should have been in place?
I agree. And we have to be careful because a lot of the action, a lot of these events, it's pent up demand. People hadn't been out in so long. When people get together in these huge bunches, I mean, that was it. They hadn't been out in a long time. So coming together in a situation, I agree with you, in a situation like that, the police forget, you know, some of the procedures possibly that they were using before COVID, pre-COVID. You're absolutely right. One more thing, and I just want to go down the list before we get into tea. Here the list, and I'm just going to go down just for the sake of the podcast, the list of advertisers and folks who have either moved away, dropped, or no longer affiliate themselves with Kanye. You've got Adidas, of course, went down this week. Goodwill will no longer be accepting or having any of Ye's or Yeezys, whatever he has in stock that has been in stock with Goodwill. The Gap, Instagram, and for now, Twitter. Is Twitter still
That probably won't change.
Is he still off on Twitter?
Yeah, not part of my vocabulary. And you also forgot TJ Maxx, so we don't want you.
Oh, I haven't gotten to TJ Maxx.
Okay.
Maxx
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you got JP Morgan, you got Def Jam Records, and you have to help me pronounce this because I'm fashion illiterate, Tonya B.
Balenciaga.
Thank you. You knew exactly what I was about to say. CAA, MRC, Foot Locker, Jaylen Brown on the sports side, Aaron. What's the other? We know he plays football for the out in LA.
All the people that were part of Yeezy Sports.
Yeah, Aaron Donaldson. Yeah, go ahead. Yep, and Peloton, TJ Maxx. The Donda Academy is now closed. It keeps going back and forth. And also they pulled his wax statue from the Madame Tussauds Museum out in London. Yeah, go ahead.
There are some radio stations, commercial radio stations that are backing away from playing his music as well. Yes, we're never going to get back the 2006 college dropout Kanye, but sometimes people just don't even want to be reminded of, of just, he wasn't as overt with it. So I've been in some tight spaces with him, and it's almost like I just want to say mental illness. He was a loose cannon. The other thing about that is now he's so upset now that he's no longer on the billionaires list. He's been replaced by Puffy. But the other thing is I'm understanding a lot of what his so-called worth comes from real estate. And I don't know if it's true or not, that if there are any properties that he does own where people are like, I'm not paying rent anymore, he's going to have to evict me, or I'm just going to move out because I'm not giving him any money.
Wow. All right.
And, I understand that he owns 2% of that undergarment company that Kim has called Skims, and she's trying to, although it's only 2 or 3%, she's actually trying to buy him out.
Got you. Okay. Let's go ahead and do tea.
Now then, children, it's time for tea.
It's tea time, y'all. Sipping the tea with Tonya B.
I'm sure you're going to have some more of that in your tea as well coming up. What you got, Tonya B?
I don't have a lot. It's been somewhat of a quiet week for news, but first I do want to say 5 on it to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. His show, The Rock, returns to NBC TV on the 4th of November. But his movie, Black Adam, the opening weekend was $140 million globally. It just took in $24.5 million yesterday alone. So don't count out. People are trying to, saying, oh, it's never going to work. It's this, it's that. But I always love to see success be the best revenge you can ever have. So I just want to say 5 on it to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. His movie pulled in more money the first weekend than that George Clooney and Julia Roberts movie. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I want to ask you a question. I was hoping that some of these reality shows would go away, but my question is, do we really need another reality show? And my answer would be no. Nope. But they're going to keep coming as long as former or disgraced celebrities need a check. Now, there was a show that was on VH1 16 years ago called The Surreal Life, and they are bringing that back. And let me tell you who was on the first episode. So the first season. You've got Dennis Rodman, probably needs a check. Tamar Braxton, she needs a check because she has no record deal, no hit records, she can't really tour. Yeah, she's a booby prize. You've got Kim Coles, who I guess she wasn't funny compared to what funny is now, but you have a lot more of these young comedians and young female comedians. She was there kind of before the Samores and the the Queens of Comedy and those people. Then you have people like Tiffany Haddish and even Aisha Tyler. And then this last one, he really needs a check, and that would be August Alsina, Mr. Entanglement. But when you tell you about August Alsina now, the dumb donkey of this week, I say, is Tory Lanez, who has been put under house arrest until November 28th, which is the start date of the trial for his shooting Megan Thee Stallion. But did you know that Mr. Entanglement also has a foot in, no pun intended, has a foot in this whole mess with Tory Lanez and Meg Thee Stallion in the shooting? So August Alsina, I think really Will Smith just shut everything down for him. Let's call a thing a thing. And he's taken to reality TV, the show that would have them. But on a more positive note, can we say this is the week of Rihanna.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Do it.
Okay. It's like her first music out in 6 years. The song is Lift Me Up, which, is one of the 2 songs that she has on the Black Panther 2 soundtrack. She co-wrote the song as a tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman. Rihanna's Fenty Fashion Show will stream on Amazon Prime November 9th, right before the opening of Black Panther. And actually, the 9th and 10th of November, you can go see a special IMAX screening of Black Panther, but the official opening date is November 11th. But let's get back to the Fenty Fashion Show. She's got Taraji P. Henson, whom I tell you, I'm gonna get her together in a minute. She's got Marsai Martin, Cheryl Lee Ralph as models in the show. The entertainment will be the man who has given new meaning to Get Down on Your Knees, and that's Maxwell. He's the entertainment. So don't forget that Rihanna's also going on tour, and I'm hearing that she might put out maybe an EP to support the tour. And let's get back to Taraji P. Henson. She got not like Shantae got a man. Taraji got a man at home, but let me tell you who her new boo thing is. She done got some of Janet Jackson's old used up goods, because her new boo thing is the man with the third leg, Jermaine Dupri.
No comment.
Now, girl, Janet left him. He's known to be a cheater. All I can say is, Taraji, be careful, girl, and don't get hypnotized by that third leg, baby. Okay.
The views and opinions expressed. Go ahead, Tonya B.
I don't make the news. I just report it. Allegedly. Okay, allegedly. Now, I got to tell you best about Kanye. But he's got this Donda Academy. And just like Chris Rock said many years ago in a joke, grand opening, grand closing, then grand reopening. For how long, we don't know. But in case you missed it, singer Keisha Cole took to social media saying that she took her son DJ, the one whose daddy's name is Booby. Mm-hmm. She took DJ out of the Donda Academy for obvious reasons. But my thing is, how smart are these kids going to this Donda Academy? There has been a mass exodus of the teaching staff quitting. The tuition is $15,000 a year. And where did Keisha get that kind of money? I don't know. Maybe Booby's on scholarship. But wait. They allegedly, the word is that you have to also, if your child goes to that school, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. But I'm like, who's going to talk? Whatever. That is so ridiculous.
But anyway, okay.
Exactly. Let me get some laugh. Let's laugh. Okay, I want to say, first of all, congratulations to Grammy award-winning, groundbreaking hip-hop duo Salt and Pepper's here. And where they're going to be is on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. They're getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame next week. But inquiring minds want to know, is Spinderella going to cut it up one time and show up? She really should be included because she is a part of the group. I wish they would just put on their big girl panties and just work out whatever their issues are, and just go on with it.
Good luck. Okay, whatever they have going on is intense.
It is. And I know it has to do with money. But speaking of money, I can tell you this. Kenan and Kel said they are going to do another Good Burger movie. But I got to tell you this. Kenan's former SNL castmate and co-star Chris Redd is dating Kenan's estranged wife. They claim everything is cool. But in case you haven't heard, Chris got the beef stew knocked out of him because he got punched in the face with somebody that had on brass knuckles outside of a New York comedy club. And he had to go in the hospital, but he's out now. Wow. Blood was everywhere. Blood was just everywhere.
Wow.
Blood was flying everywhere. I want to tell you that Jill Scott is back on BET Plus for season 3 of The First Wives Club. I don't know if she'll be making music anytime soon, like Rihanna, because she's really gotten into this whole acting thing. And there's a greasy website that is spewing untruths about the situation with Why Did I Get Married 3. Tyler Perry said people are just making up things. Stop the BS. He is not calling out Janet or Jill, saying that they are holding up any production, because Tyler Perry said he has not written not one word of a script, but he has an idea and a concept. But my thing is, most of the people that were in Why Did I Get Married 1 and 2 are no longer married. So I wonder what number 3 is going to be. I got one more thing I got to tell you. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of celebrities will have a signature fragrance. Elizabeth Taylor hers was very popular back in the day. Elizabeth Taylor had one. Heck, even Cher had one. But, we're seeking to an all-time low when people just get greedy for money and they want to pimp and whore somebody's estate. In case you haven't heard, Whitney's don't want to get a job sister-in-law Pat and her husband Gary are now putting out a Whitney Houston fragrance.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, but wait, there's more. You would think somebody like Whitney, you'd have a fragrance in Nordstrom, Saks Fifth Avenue, Bloomingdale's, even Macy's. They are putting this fragrance in Walmart, and you can buy it for as low as $8. Is that not an insult? Is that not an insult? I wish I had a punching bag sound effect, because I would give them a serious cocoa pop.
All right, I'm gonna give them.
They want the.
I'll give them the boo.
For free. Everybody can pay for it. They want the everyday people to pay for it. That's all.
It's probably going to smell like it's probably going to smell like Charlie. Remember Charlie from back in the 70s? Shelley Hack and the Charlie. It's probably going to smell like Charlie.
Lord. All right, Tonya.
But you know what? I don't know. I don't want anything that smells that I'm paying. I don't wear $8. That'll end up. You know how you get that black ring around your neck or it turns green, like when you wear a cheap gold chain that wasn't gold.
Not the green gold.
Yeah, she will turn your skin. Do not give it as a gift.
Vi, you know in middle, in middle school, you gave some girl the green gold,
and she broke out in a rash, didn't she? Tell the truth and shame the devil.
Everybody can't pay for good perfume. Y'all wrong.
Well, then you know what? You need to go and buy some oil from the Muslim brother at the corner of Lee and Ralph David Abernathy over there in the West End. That won't break you out.
You just wrong.
Y'all wrong.
Right.
Y'all.
Appreciate your time. Appreciate your time, Tonya B. Let me go on and get my report. Get my report. Good stuff. All right, here we go.
Watching this week, Tommy G.
I'm gonna have to mute them. Here we go. I'm gonna just mute them. Here we go. On Atlanta on FX this week. The goof who's sat by the door. Y'all behave. No, Atlanta on FX. Let me know what y'all think. Go to castropolis.net. I thought it was good, but it was more like my Gen X here and the millennial understood it because they had seen the Goofy movie, so they totally got it. So if you saw the Goofy movie and you can relate to it, then you'd understand it. The other thing, I will give it up. Let me give it up to Abbott Elementary. Much better this week. The Halloween episode was much better, funnier, and I just hope they can continue on in that direction. It was a really good episode. The other thing, and this is just last minute again for Halloween, Guillermo del Toro has a new series out on Netflix. He's the guy who did the Scent of Water. I think it's the Scent of Water, but he's doing the new Pinocchio that's coming out. He's done not necessarily Peter Pan, but I think it was called Pan. He's Spanish and he does these
Pinocchio?
Weird. He's doing a new Pinocchio, so it's coming out.
Pinocchio.
What?
No. That was never mind.
Okay, thank you so much. But anyway, and quit clicking that mic. Just leave it on. Damn. Okay. The other thing is, it is called the Cabinet of Curiosities, and I will tell you up front, it is not for the weak at heart. It is not for the weak at heart at all. If you've been looking for gore for Halloween, you found it. I think there's 8 stories. It's an anthology, so all 8 stories are there, different stories, and the one that's the craziest is episode 3. Glenn Turman. You know Glenn Turman. Old school Glenn from Cooley High.
Cooley High.
Yeah, from Cooley High.
And Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, and Aretha Franklin. He is in episode 3, and it's called The Autopsy. It is off the charts, messy, scary, crazy, but that episode 3, in my opinion, was the best of all 8. Definitely Cabinet of Curiosities is, it will make you squirm. That shit's like, whoa, what y'all doing? But anyway, that's all I got for the week. Not a whole lot. We already had, and I'll remind people, you got one more day as you listen to the podcast tonight, and then I guess Halloween's on Monday. But the top 10 from our girl Spicy Dicey, she had, Black Phone at number 10, Leatherface, Interview with the Vampire, Prey, Doctor Strange, the new one, Fresh, X, Barbarian, The Terrifier 2, and her number 1 or her best pick, she says is the best horror movie of the year is Smile. So those are the ones. And thank you again, Spicy Dicey, for coming on. greatly appreciate you. I'm getting through most of that list, but that damn cabinet of curiosities, y'all. I was like, oh my God, what are they? Number 3, tell me what you think. Episode 3. Again, go to castropolis.net. That's castropolis.net. Weigh in, hit the people poll, leave your voicemail. Again, big thanks to Reverend D.B. Lockwood, Derrick Lockwood. I call him Rev Lock, co-founder of this event that's coming up, Equipping for Hopeful, Honest, and Courageous Conversations on Race, November 7th. So, as we tape today, a week and a day away from that event, 5:30 to 8:30. It's at the Gathering Spot in Atlanta. Again, there's an Eventbrite link. I got to get that Eventbrite link and make sure that that's on our podcast notes as well. So any last minute thoughts as we wrap up? The big thing is still Kanye, but anything else out there from y'all? Any thoughts? Throw it out.
One thing I did want to say is I just wanted to thank you, and I'm grateful that I even know anything about what Rev Lock is doing, because I didn't know anything about it. So, this is how information gets disseminated. I can tell my friends and my neighbors about it, and the place will be standing room only. And I think it's great that, he's, initiating the fact that we do need to have those uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
And also, and again, when I talked about the gathering spot being, not being inclusive, I mean, that's just the way it is. You have,
way it is.
No, but the thing about it is I really hope that, sometimes having these uncomfortable conversations will actually be a teachable moment for them, because somebody can roll up in there with a 10th grade education and look like they just came out of a coal mine, but they could also be a multimillionaire, own a big construction company. So I think those are the kinds of conversations that count too. And those are the kind of opinions and people, that need not to be discounted.
I agree.
Because this is a critical time. And like you said, there are people, I was watching the news even this morning, Tonya B, and it's really kind of scary that, they say things are so close and we don't want to do a runoff, but the reality is we may have one. But the other thing is people are like, I'm undecided and I'm scared. Well, damn it, go educate yourself and make, a decent, an educated decision. So I just encourage people, to do that. And, don't believe the hype, because half of what's out here being spewed, especially on these social media platforms, in case it's already happening on Twitter with Chief Twit, who has since taken down that exactly, that quote, because it was not true. Exactly. He is such a booby prize. A lot of famous people include, I don't know if you saw my posting, Tony.
He's African American, by the way. You know that, right?
Yeah, he's also on the Asperger syndrome too. But anyway, he's the one whose
South Africa. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's the one whose father is married and having babies by the stepsister. But anyway, you see his mama ain't talking about him, but let's call a thing. But, I just, encourage people, learn the facts. Don't believe the hype and don't believe the first thing that you see. Because a lot of times, as Leon Haywood said, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Just help yourself and just learn the facts and get educated. And I think the gathering spot on November 7th is a great place to start.
I agree. And let me say, for all the folks who have voted, I do have to give you an applause. And I really and truly am excited by the numbers. I still believe that they have not been able to truly capture the Black vote numbers outside of what is known by the early vote. And again, last week, the report was right around 39% of the early vote was African American, was Black. And I'm wondering at this point, even once we passed 1 million, what that number will be. And I'm wondering what the number is nationwide. But one of the things I think Reverend Warnock, Senator Warnock has run a good campaign. And I think he's done just about everything possible that he could do as someone who is still in the infancy of his, of his job. You got to keep in mind, it was an early replacement. So he's only really and truly been, is it a year that he's actually been, in that situation? So for a guy who's been in it a year, I think he's done a good job. The other thing and this is more specific to the governor opportunity between Kemp and Abrams. I'm not going to express my concerns specifically why, because, voting is still going on. But once we do the autopsy on it after the fact, I'll express my why there are concerns, for Stacey. I think I will take my hat off to Karen Renee and her folks at the NAACP, definitely here in Georgia. They've done a lot of youth rallies. Shout out to Gucci Mane, who actually connected with the NAACP and did a concert for voting, which I thought, you got to go after that younger demographic and make sure that they get out and they understand the importance of voting. You can't make an assumption that they will. So regardless, Tonya B, my hat goes off to the entertainment folks who actually get involved in this. Because I will tell you,
don't listen to Killer Mike and his
but I will tell you, that I know how you feel. I know some of the stuff that you might say about these folks, but I think that, it's an opportunity that a lot of entertainers allow to go by the wayside when they should not stand on neutral ground, because their opportunities were given to them by people who believed heavily in voting. So I really pay attention to who doesn't show up,
Right. And who's consistent and authentic, So.
And I do have to make a comment, because somebody said something last week about the comment we made about Julia Roberts and her daughter. Let me tell you this. I'm going to say this because I'm an adoptee.
You mean Angelina Jolie? No, you said Julia Roberts, isn't Angelina?
Well, no, I'm sorry, Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie and her daughter. And we believe wholeheartly in the process of adoption. I believe definitely that in her heart, the adoption that she's done for her family, to create her family, she's shown in good faith that she gives those kids everything, even to the point of the things that she's done to protect them from who might be a nutty Brad, which we might be finding out more. So I applaud her for getting involved with her daughter's life and staying involved with the adoptee kids. We don't mean anything, when we say something, but there's a difference between the adoptee mother and the celebrity. We still may have,
Madonna.
We still might have, I'm gonna say about anybody, if you're an adoptee mom and you protect your kids, you value your kids, you're a good mom. You're doing the right thing. But we can make comments about the celebrity side, but I am very protective of the adoptee, the adopters, the families who really and truly put their heart, their money, and they don't just do it for show. And I think she's one of them. I will say this, though. I'm going to throw it to you, Tonya B. I'm not a big fan of her dad, John Boyd. He's a nut. He's a right-wing nut, but I don't, I don't, she shouldn't be put in the fire for the sins of her father.
Oh, no.
And I'm gonna leave it at
not at all. No, I mean, like I said, she and her father are quite estranged. I don't even know if they even have a relationship. But one thing I will say about Angelina, and I will give her credit, and, I believe one of the reasons, and this, in my opinion, one reason why she may be getting involved on the political side, because these decisions that are going to go down in these elections are going to affect her daughter, who for all intents and purposes is now a resident of Georgia. So I give her credit for doing that, and hopefully, for teaching that process and what it means to her daughter, so that, I don't know what the young lady, her daughter, we'll just call her daughter. So daughter,
Zahari, I think. Zahari.
So daughter, make sure that when your mama leaves and goes home, you don't, put the baton down, that you still, get out, and go vote for all the time, that 4 years or so that you'll be here. So I applaud Angelina for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will give her credit for that all day long, all up and through.
And let me say, and what I meant when I said Julia Roberts, what I meant to say, because I think you mentioned Julia Roberts somewhere in the report, or her name came up in the report
about the King family.
Yeah, that I did not know that Coretta Scott King and Martin Luther King Jr. actually paid for her birth. Paid her family for her birth, because her family had an acting school in Atlanta. and their kids actually were impacted by that acting school. So they made a decision to definitely pay for her birth. Yeah. That was
because
a little known Black history fact.
How about that? Yeah, and they couldn't. So Julia going to get her bus pass. But the thing about it is, during that time, Black children, not just in the South, and they couldn't go to, didn't have access to the same opportunities as their white counterparts, acting schools and dancing schools. Look how long it took you to see, a principal ballerina in the American Ballet Theater, or a Black Rockette, at Radio City Music Hall. Yep. So Julia, you can come to the cookout, honey.
There you go. Come on, Julia. Come on.
Yeah. She's from the South. She knows how to eat Southern food.
Smyrna, Georgia. All right, y'all. Hey, let's go ahead. Vi, you got it. You ready? Pull on up to the table.
I'm ready, bro.
Pull on up to the table. Here we go. What you got, Vi?
This is a significant statement about judging others, because Jesus upheld the legal penalty for adultery, stoning. He could not be accused of being against the law, but by saying that only a sinless person could throw the first stone. He highlighted the importance of compassion and forgiveness. When others are caught in sin, are you quick to pass judgment? To do so is to act as though you have never sinned. It is God's role to judge, not ours. Our role is to show forgiveness and compassion. John chapter 8, verse 7. He who without sin, let him throw the first stone.
Hallelujah.
That's right, people. None of us is perfect.
That's right.
None of us without sin. So when you try to judge somebody, think about what you've done in your past. So forgive them. Like they said, the forgiveness is not for that person. That forgiveness is for you. Amen.
Amen.
You sure that ain't a little bit of list?
Don't give up your power like that. I know what Vi's saying. Vi, are you saying don't give up your power to somebody who does not deserve it?
There ain't a little list over there to somebody like Yates, maybe?
No, that's a laundry list. You need to go over there and sit down in the corner with R. Kelly
I'm too close
fold laundry.
I'm too close to a window. Let me shut up. All right, y'all. Again,
I forgive you. Just because I'm not going to support you, I mean I don't forgive you.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. Very good. See, that's why the country commentator is on the show.
Hey, people forgave Eddie Long.
Because if I was here. No, man, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Vi. Country commentator, man. Appreciate you, man. Again, thank you, Reverend D.B. Lockwood, man, and your congregation. They got a great man. Tonya B, thank you so much, always, for all the work that you do, traveling around the country, putting in work from.
I am here.
I don't know what you see. She's sitting in. Vi, you know what? Vi, you see us on camera. She's sitting in the camp. Is that the cabinet of Curiosities?
I'm way in America. Don't worry.
Are those two skulls behind?
Don't worry.
I'm looking hard. All right, y'all. But we appreciate you listening. And next week, I got to give shout outs because beginning of the month to all the people some of the new folks who might be checking this out. We appreciate you again. Thank you so much. And with that, episode 152 is in the can, y'all. And we are out of here. Peace.
Vote, people. Vote. Watch the debate.
Vote.
In the name of James Brown. Hallelujah. Please vote.
Hallelujah.
You've been listening to the G Podcast with your host, Tonya B. The G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.